Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm Downlink, and you're listening to Bass Island with Vivien. I got it. Hey, what's up, guys? Okay.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here with Downlink. So first of all, welcome to Italy.
Thank you very much. I've actually been here once before on a school trip when I was way younger, and it's a beautiful country, I must say. So it's good to be back.
Okay, so I think you've been a pioneer making such heavy dubs that melting it with rock. So do you actually come from rock music? Were you a rock fan before?
Absolutely. I mean, from growing up, when I was real young, the first tracks I can really remember sticking out in my mind were like Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, you know, like heavy guitar kind of stuff. And from there I got into grunge music and then from there into metal throughout the 90s. You know, I was a huge Korn fan growing up, and you know, obviously bands like Deftones and all that kind of stuff was really, really at the forefront of what I was listening to. I actually thought electronic music was pretty whack for a long time. I hated dance music.
And it's quite typical of all bands.
You know, well, because you hear the and you're like, what? I don't fucking like that shit. You know what I mean? So I didn't like that. But then I went to a rave, quote unquote, in I think it was like the year 2000 or 1999, and I heard drum and bass music, and then I could hear the aggression and the deep, heavy bass tones and shit, and then I was like, fuck this, man, this is actually cool, you know? So I got into electronic music from there, but I still listen to rock today, I still listen to metal today, I love it. So yeah, I try to bring that into my music as much as I can, you know what I mean? At least the attitude. If not putting guitars directly in there, then, you know, writing bass lines that have riffs that remind me of my old songs that I used to listen to. So yeah, that's kind of the story behind that.
And how did this collaboration with Korn come about, and how was producing with them? I mean, I know they have a different style because they come from the more traditional way of producing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, working with them was really interesting. I went to school. I'm actually like trained as an audio engineer. I took a program. A lot of people have done it. It's just a one-year course, and they kind of really push the actual rock recording side, recording drums, setting up microphones, you know, working on an actual mixing console and stuff like that. So I was really familiar with that, but for the last decade, all I've been listening to is electronic music. So going into work with Korn, it was like, wow, how are we gonna make this work? You know, I'm used to clicking around on a computer like a nerd, just making fucking sounds and shit, right? And then when John gave me the call, and he's like, yo, you wanna come down here and work on this record and shit? And I was like, wow, this is fucking mind-blowing. Talking to Jonathan Davis, right? I didn't know how it was all gonna work, but it was just fun to be in the studio with them. Like, we kind of did it was kind of like an experimental thing. I mean, nobody had really done it that way before, I think, where producers would come in with tunes that they'd written, and then we'd show them to like Monkey or, you know, Fieldy, and they just start playing over it, and then we kind of just organically put it together and just start recording stuff and layering it all up. I mean, I think everybody was kind of learning, and I think, you know, we're constantly learning with this process of mixing electronic and rock, and I mean, who knows where it'll be in 5 years' time, I can only imagine.
Yeah. What softwares you use to produce? What plugins you prefer?
Software I use, the main program I use is Logic. I'm also familiar with Ableton. I use it a little bit, although not as much as I should probably. But yeah, Logic is great. It's got a lot of good built-in plugins that I use, as well as the Native Instruments plugins. Massive, FM8 are obviously really good. Some cool ones that I always use, Vanguard, Silent is a really good synthesizer. For processing, all the Waves plugins are really good. Sony Oxford makes really good processing plugins as well. I could geek out for fucking ever on this shit, guys, but yeah, those are some of the main ones that I use.
And what do you use to play live in your shows? What do you prefer?
For live, I came from a drum and bass background where it was only vinyl, so it was, for me, I started DJing just using wax and beat matching records and stuff, so it was, for me, it became a thing of traveling around playing shows with a big crate full of vinyl. Just didn't seem like a good thing, so I made the switch to Serato, and at first I was using turntables, but I found at some of the bigger shows the bass would kind of cause the needle to skip, or just, you know, unsteady turntables, and you just can't be as precise as you can with CDJs. So currently I'm using CDJs and Serato, which is, you know, to anybody who knows how they function, it's basically, you're mixing the same way, it's just a virtual setup instead of having actually records there with you. That's it, yeah.
You often collaborate with Datsik and Exige, and actually you collaborated on Datsik upcoming album called Vitamin D. So what's so special about working with these people? What do you feel is you have something in common and your differences?
instrumental in pushing that bass sound forward. And when dubstep hit there, Excision was one of the first ones to start pioneering that dark sound. And my friend Troy Datsik and I, we both just kind of caught on right away. And I ended up meeting Troy online on the forum, and then we ended up all meeting up at the festival, and we just became bros, and we were like, all right, let's start making more music and shit, right? So yeah, that's kind of how all that came about.
And any plans for the future?
There's a ton of plans for the future. Right now, I'm actually building up all the resources to start my own label. It's going to be called Uplink Audio. Clever, ha ha ha. But yeah, it's going to be. It should be pretty fun. I'm going to start pushing out a lot of different artists that I think are really awesome that just don't get the chance to get out there, right? And other than that, I mean, I'm considering starting up and just doing my own album, but it's a lot of work, and with touring and with a hectic schedule and stuff, it's hard to find the time to sit down and write 10 or 12 tracks that I'm really, really proud of. I feel like almost it will be. I'll just write music for a year, and then organically, if I have enough material, I'll just call it an album and put it out. But that's kind of a goal of mine, is definitely to release like a full-length Downlink album.
I see. Okay, well, thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you guys.